Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, providing more than 41,000 jobs in the production of wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details at choosewood.com.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. January is National Mentoring Month. That makes it a great time to think about the role mentoring plays for young people in keeping them out of trouble and on the right path. Simply having a caring adult in their life can help them build confidence and a sense of belonging, and to see possibilities in and with their mentor that they might not otherwise see. And when an adult mentor reflects critical aspects of a young mentee's personal identity, there can be even more potential for growth. Ericka Sanders is Vice President of Community Outreach and Mentor Recruitment at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri, and she joins us now to discuss that. Ericka, welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
And we also have Andre Walker. Andre is a volunteer mentor, aka Big Brother, at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri. Andre, welcome to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you both for joining us today. And just a quick note here, I used to work at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri, but I am no longer affiliated with the organization. Now, when our show covered the Kia Boys a couple summers ago, and the unfortunate shooting at a vacant office space in downtown St. Louis that left one teen dead and multiple young people injured over the summer, we discussed what can be done to draw young people away from making bad decisions. That included producer Maya Norfleet's conversation with the director of the Office of Violence Prevention for the City of St. Louis, Will Pinkney, and a real talk exchange with two teens in the region about realities and solutions to keep them safe. And along with creating safe spaces for youth, mentoring came up as part of the solution. Ericka, what are some everyday, sort of tangible examples of how mentoring helps young people?
Oh, man. Mentoring starts out at its core as a friendship that you're developing. So you're getting to know a young person and allowing them to show up as their true organic selves and giving them a safe space. I think it starts with safety, building that trust. And although you can always assume, or sometimes the misconception is the assumption that you get that from home, you get that from family, you get that just from the peer group that you're with. That's not always the place where you want to lay down all of the heaviness that sometimes a young person is experiencing. Mm-hmm. And having an adult that has lived some life and had some experiences sometimes really plays a strong role in that relatability and in that looking forward to what can be possible.
Mm-hmm. Now, typically when we hear about or talk about mentors, we think of, I think, more formal sort of configurations of that. They're teachers, they're coaches, less formal, but also, part of that universe of mentorship. There are also close family members. What is it that being a mentor looks like, Ericka, in action?
So that's a big question. And mentors look so different for the different relationships. So I don't think that you could just put it in just a square box, not a peg in a box. But I think mentorship can look like brother or sisterhood. Mentorship can sometimes even look like just that person that I tend to call to get that cheering section. Mm-hmm. Mentorship can look like a love that I've never experienced before through kinship, but again, through relatability and relationship, I now have a person that I look forward to spending time with. And just the opportunity, if done the way that we hope through like programs like ours and many others that are amazing in St. Louis area, it looks like an opportunity for a young person to just feel supported, heard, and validated.
Mm-hmm. Now, Andre, you are a volunteer mentor, and I want to make that point because there are some programs in which a mentor receives compensation of some kind. But I want to direct the question also to you about what mentorship in action, what it looks like and what it has looked like in your experience.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would have to echo where Ericka is speaking from when it comes to building authentic relationships. And I would say that the relationships, as you mentioned, with family being involved, extend past just the little. My relationships have extended to mothers, have extended to sisters, brothers, because that all affects my little at the end of the day. When I'm picking them up, when I'm dropping them off, when we're going out, they have real life things going on. And so for me, it's building that relationship, that connection, understanding that this is a safe space, that they can share, be free, and just giving them the opportunity to learn more about me so that they understand that I am a role model, not just a role model, but someone that they can ask questions to and someone that they can trust at the end of the day. So I think in action, it's really just showing up. That's the first thing, showing up for them.
Now, there is data that supports the benefit that a mentor can have in the life of a young person. And according to Mentor, which is a national organization that advocates for support of mentorship in the United States, research shows that young people who have mentors make better choices, that they engage more in school, and that they reduce or avoid negative behaviors. On a more local level, what do those numbers look like, Ericka, at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri?
So on a local level, I would say that it's not too huge of a difference in the percentages. I think when you think a little bit more localized, of course, we serve a smaller percentage of young people, but we're still seeing the same things. We definitely have seen over the past couple of years percentages of like 85% of our alumni go on to graduate high school and go on to look into what we call one of the 3 E's. They either go on to higher education, they go straight into what we hope is gainful employment for them, or they even look into the military services. And so we have things like that are happening that we're able to see and we're tracking.
And you also have lived experience as someone who has served not only as a big sister, but as the parent of a young person. You've enrolled in the program. What have you observed as a parent and appreciated about there being a mentor for your daughter?
Yeah, for everyone listening, it's going to sound like too good to be true, and I promise I don't have extra zeros, but I've experienced my daughter has experienced such amazing things by way of being a part of the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. Not only does she have a friend for life in her big sister, who is an incredible human being, and we're still connected to her even beyond their graduation from the program, but my daughter has traveled out of the country. My daughter has had scholarship opportunities. Right now she is going to school based on a scholarship opportunity through the program. And she's also had the experience of getting more diverse in knowing about more about DEI and just things that are really relevant to her as a young person growing up in the St. Louis area. So we have nothing but amazing things to say about the experience.
And she does have a Black big sister.
She does.
Right? And this gets to something that we talked about in the intro, which has to do with representation. We talked about it in the previous segment as well. Andre, you are not only a volunteer with Big Brothers Big Sisters, but you also co-founded an organization specifically for supporting Black men and boys called Man Up. So as far as representation for mentors and for mentees goes, why is that important, and what is it that drove you to become a mentor yourself?
Yeah, representation is, essentially everything for us, especially when we think about Black men and Black boys. When we, I always say to our youth, it's like representation, like you're representing yourself to this world. And so when we think about representing and representation, it's really the idea of what you see is what you can become or what you will become. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that a lot of our youth, when we look at the mainstream media, they tend to gear towards the athletes and the entertainment because that's what they see on their phones, on social media, on all of these different platforms. And so when we start to look at representation in our community and what we need, the reason why I got involved with Man Up and also why I decided to become a big and things like that is because I saw that there was a lack of representation for just everyday Black men that were showing the youth another way that they could still be successful. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of times you have to ultimately, be someone that they think is cool, for them to want to buy into buy into the idea of doing what you're doing. Like a lot of times you don't hear a lot of kids saying, oh, you have this job, you're in tech, you're in this and that. Like they say, oh, you're an athlete or you're a rapper or you're this, and that's what they gear towards. But did you know that you could, nowadays, make just as much money as those rappers and things like that and still have a life that is consistent, that is legitimate, that is, like living a great life. And so I know with me and my mentee, just some of the conversations that we've had, he has been able to see, like I've been representing, he's been able to see another way for him, and it's opened up so many doors already for his path.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your mentee, without giving up too much personal information. Yeah. How has he sort of shown that he does see himself reflected in you and even vice versa?
Yeah, I think, well, I want to say that it starts off for anyone listening, that it does start off with trust. When we first, got started, I was almost like, does he like me? He was very quiet, and things like that. But as I started to build that trust and I showed him that, hey, I have your back, he has now, he listens, and it may not be the listen of like staring in my eyes, but he listens in the sense of, I see his actions changing. Since we've been together, we've seen his grades improve. He started to look into different jobs. He's talked with coaches because he wants to play into more sports. And he also has, through his mom actually calling me, he has, really taken on a lot of the things that I've said and applied them into his life. And with our interaction in the car and in the different places, he's more quiet and mild. But once I drop him off and I get to my house, I get a text from his mom like, oh, he's talking about this and he's talking about that. And so I know that it's slowly leaving an impact on his life. And so for me, just being able to, again, show up, I think is the biggest thing. Him just having someone there has helped him really navigate this path.
And he's looking for jobs. How old is your mentee?
Yeah, he'll be 16 in a month or so.
Okay. It can get hard. It can be hard to get 16-year-olds to engage and listen. So it sounds like there's clearly some trust being built there. Yeah. Something else that is important, I think, to bring up here, when we talk about diversity and representation, that is not limited to race and ethnicity, but also to where young people are. And Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri serves not only the St. Louis area, but Cape Girardeau too. Ericka, how do the mentoring needs of young people, from different areas, be they, urban, suburban, rural, how do they differ, and where do they overlap?
Oh, yeah. I think that just putting it quite honestly, we see the immediate place where they overlap in the fact that you have under-resourced communities look for services like ours more adamantly, more passionately, and more frequently. And the young people that are African American and or identify in some type of minority tend to look for this type of support, and so do their parents. I think regionally, the differences that we see are who the mentors are and how they show up.
Okay, tell us about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, through the great, campaign that we had last year, we got with Man Up Global, we got to see a lot of African American men and women step up and become a part of our program. That's not traditionally what we have tended to see, especially in the St. Louis City, St. Louis County area, here in the central region is what we would call it at Big Brothers Big Sisters. We do tend to see a lot more white mentors that will step up, and we see a lot more women that step up.
So the need for men. I want to talk about that word too. There is a difference between need and needy. How is it that, Ericka, that you approach talking about that?
Yeah, it's funny that you use those two words because I've had a volunteer or a potential volunteer talk from the standpoint of needy and having to talk about that word a little bit. There's, I think, need, the desire, again, for what our participants ask for, because we always want to honor them. They are very much the catalyst for what we do and how we do it. So their desire for someone that they can relate to, someone that their children can identify with and have that sense of compatibility and relatability there is what pushes towards the sense of wanting or saying need, because we want to honor that desire to have who they want to see in their child's life. I think that differs from just a sense of being needy and wanting just anyone. And that, again, also speaks back to our process and why we're so thorough when looking for volunteers in our program. Because although we say that it's open, we're very intentional about making sure that everyone understands that doesn't mean that you will make it through and become a volunteer in the program just because you have that desire. We're looking for certain things to make sure that this is a right fit with a child, because that child is the most important part of this aspect of all of it.
And why is it that Big Brothers Big Sisters is especially looking for more big brothers or for male mentors?
Because we have a lot more young men and young boys in our program, and specifically a lot more African American boys in our program. And either the boys have expressed interest in wanting to be matched with a black male, or in combination, their parents have also made that a desire for themselves.
And Andre, I think as much as a mentee can look to a mentor and see representation, since you have become a mentor and a big to a black little brother mentee, have there been people around you who have either asked really interesting questions or have shown some interest in becoming a male mentor because they see you doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had many individuals, reach out, and, one from the campaign, but then two, when me and my little started to actually hang out, and I would text and say, hey, I'm with my little today, I can't hang out, or we're going to go do this. They became very curious. And I think they became curious also just because they saw the change in me. And I guess, they called me like the uncle figure, the uncle figure in me came out, I guess, of just really caring about my little and the things that he's going through and wanting to see him succeed. And so I have had many friends. We had one scenario where me and my little were out and, had to just make a quick stop by somewhere. And so we were driving, had to stop somewhere. And it was about 10 other of my friends, our organization, they were setting up. And so he was sitting right there in the car. I just said, I'm going to run in. And, it was great because they were outside and they saw us pull up and they were like, oh, who was that? And I started to talk with him. And so some of the guys just went by the car and talking with him. And then when I came back, they were like, he's awesome. Wait a minute, how do I get a little, So,
right.
So I think that the need is there, but representation is not just for the littles. Representation is also for my peers, to say, hey, you can do this too, So, yeah.
And with that needy conversation, has that come up as well among people that you've talked with?
I would say that if it has come up, it's come up with individuals who just don't understand the real need. I think that, especially during the campaign, there's some individuals that would say, oh, what is this about? They were more curious. They never, I don't think anyone saw it as, oh, they're needy or they just want us to do this and do that. They, for the numbers or things. I think most individuals, once they came to understand what Big Brothers and Big Sisters are doing, they realized, wait a minute, this is a great organization and they truly need our help, and it doesn't take a lot, And so most of the individuals that I shared with, they're on board.
Yeah, Ericka, as we spend the last couple minutes on this conversation, as we noted, January is National Mentoring Month, and there are calls to action for mentors of all kinds, and all over the country. What does Big Brothers Big Sisters have coming up for folks who are looking into becoming a mentor, maybe fulfilling a resolution that they have for this year?
Yeah. Well, coming towards the end of the month, we will be having an event that we are advertising now on social media and all over the place. It's Mentor Fest. It'll be on January the 30th. They can definitely reach out to the agency to get more information about that. But while this is, and we're celebrating National Mentor Month, we're not stopping here, of course. All this year, our whole pledge to what we do is let's continue doing this. So throughout the year, we want people to check in and see what's going on. But that particular event will give people an opportunity to get to know our staff, get to know about the mission, and they will even have an opportunity to talk to some people that are currently in the program, like Andre and others. And a big shout out to Andre's mom, too, because she also is a mentor through the Black 365 campaign that we did last year.
Okay, great. Ericka Sanders is Vice President of Community Outreach and Mentor Recruitment at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri, and Andre Walker is a volunteer mentor, aka Big Brother, at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Missouri. Ericka and Andre, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
This episode was produced by Maya Norfleet.
Our audio engineer is Aaron Dorr. This podcast was mixed and edited by Aaron.
Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
St. Louis on the Air proudly supports local artists by using music from Life Creative Group.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations, and leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thank you.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.